Alright, let's do this. Dyna mounts. Glide Pro Dyna mounts. We'll talk about them both. But we're going to install the rear and mostly do that. So here's just so you got an idea of where we're headed here. Here's your transmission, right? Okay. And here's an OEM mount, original. Alright, so like so. Okay. Got that? You can see that starter. It's all up underneath there. Just kind of give you a visual of what's going to happen there. And then ours took a while. Same thing. Fits in the same way. Should work with anything else the same way. Except better, hopefully, for you. So, you don't need the rear wheel off. You just, we did that so you could see better. And you don't need 3 jacks. You do need 2. You need 1 to stabilize the frame, and you need 1 to work the transmission up and down. While you mostly put the new one in, not so much get the old one out. There's some things that make it a little easier if you can put that together. I've gone with a 1/4-inch drive, long, 45 wobbly that actually locks the socket on. 9/16 by the way. But then it's too loose, so right, a little masking tape, and we get that so it's nice. Flexes just right. Okay. Allen's in the back. Our instructions. Let me see. Put that close enough. You can see. Our instructions pretty much very similar to the manual. Get a manual for your bike first. And read instructions, guys. I'm sorry. People have been, they maybe criticized my video skills just a little bit, and it's not always true. I've been working on it, and I came up with a way to put titles on, graphics on, so from now on, we got this, alright? By the way, making videos of all the things I get to do, making parts, machining, building bikes, whatever, is my favorite thing to do. Alright, so I won't pull that. I had some other signs, but some of my friends said those were probably inappropriate. Yeah, enough of that. And alright, so we got to get this out of here. We got these 2 bolts at the top. Got the transmission supported. These 2 are pretty easy, even with the rear wheel on. You just have to work yourself into the right length extension and so on. Allen head, socket, helps, that kind of stuff, alright? You have to work this through. Right through here. Yeah. Look at that. We even got the front one. Okay? I cheated a little. I tried to loosen them up a little. No need for you to sit here and see me struggle through all that. So, or even get them out. So we got them loose. That's the front one. And then, see that there? Yeah. Alright, you can get them. And different exhausts. Some of the exhausts are a lot easier. Some of them are more of a pain. And by the way, Dyna rear mount, that's probably my very favorite of all the Harley mounts to install. Okay? and remove. Alright, so let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and get these two top bolts out. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these two Allen bolts. Use the jack, and I got the two bolts, top bolts coming out. Pull these two bolts out and relieve, use the jack to relieve any kind of tension that's on the two top bolts and make them come out a little bit easier. Okay. Make that a little bit easier to do. And then with the 10 shot, you can even see it moved on the holes a little bit. Get those top two bolts out a lot easier. You just use your jack to move that around. There you go. Dyna mount, rear mount is out. Alright, so we're halfway there. Alright, so let's put ours in or get started on it anyway, alright? Basically the same, dimensionally the same, bolts in the same. Two bolts go in. We did go to our two bolts going all the way through. It gave us more structure. It only makes sense. But yeah, it fits in the same way, bolts in the same way. Other than those two bolts going all the way through instead of just bolting to that block in the face. So let's get this up in here and see if we can get those top two bolts in. The back one usually goes in a little easier, and then you can usually pull that front one up a little, pull the back of the mount up a little, and get that front one in. Well, I'm sorry, the rear one. That was backwards. The front one. Put the front one in first, and then work your back one in. Those through, and then you can see all the way through. You can see here, the hole alignment. This is where this jack is going to come in, right? Let's get you. Let's see here if we can. Okay, so you can see those two holes, right? And then as this comes up, there we go. You can see, get that alignment there. And let's get these two bolts through. Let's see, we got a washer already on the bottom. Get my big head in the way here. Oh, too high. All right. There. And there's a top. set. We got the two top bolts through, all the way through. We've got both back bolts in. You can see, like I said, they go all, our bolts go all the way through. All right, so you got to get up on the back side with a nut. Get this one back out of my way. So if you just get the top one, don't let the bottom one stick out. There we go. And then get your nut on the top one first. If you got a handy clamp, who knows where that came from. It works really great though, man. Check this out. So, can you see that? There you go. Handy clamp. That's the name of it. You can put all different size nuts in them and reach wherever you need to. Comes in handy. Alright. And if you don't have one, because I'm pretty sure you don't, you can always take your long 9/16 and a piece of masking tape. Oops, sorry about that. That doesn't work, huh? Piece of masking tape and put it over your wrench. Take your nut. Let's do this side. And stick it through that way. You guys know this, right? Just get rid of the excess tape. And then that'll hold the nut while you reach it up inside of there and put it on that top bolt. Alright? Alright, so I got all the bolts are in, nuts are on, and it's loose. Now if you're just doing a rear mount, and oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Who am I, right? The link on the top. The link up on the top of the motor. Okay, so the link up on top. You guys got it. Connects the frame or the motor over to the frame. Alright, it's right there. Got a big spacer. Goes up on top of it. Right? Goes in there. Bolt comes down through. I remember to do it. I apologize, I forgot to tell you in the beginning. But go ahead and disconnect the link before you even start. Alright, make that the first thing. In fact, go ahead and the night before, if you think of it, spray the nut, the lock nut on the link in case you do have to adjust it. You don't have to take your tank off, although it's probably easier, but you can just pull the bolt in the back and the one in the front and lift it up high enough to get that out of there. Okay, so have that disconnected. This is on the in your owner's manual or in the mechanic's manual. Even for the OEM mount, they want you to disconnect this link, and then go ahead and I leave it all loose. And with the link disconnected, if you're just doing the rear, get the back together. With the link off and the bolts loose, go ahead and run the bike. Alright? Okay, so everything's still loose. Link's disconnected. Like I said, go ahead and you didn't need a rear wheel off anyway, but put it all back together. Leave everything loose and go ahead and run the bike. If you're just doing the rear. We're going to go ahead and do the front also. So I want to do the same thing with the front. I'll just leave them both loose. If I'm doing a front and rear install, I'm I'm going to leave them both loose, the link disconnected, run the bike. We're going to talk about the alignment. I know if you're thinking about wheel, what am I going to do with my link disconnected, and the vertical alignment on the rear wheel, and also the wheel-to-wheel alignment a little bit. All right, we'll talk about that after we do the front and get it all back together and we've run the bike. I'm going to go ahead and just, what we do here. All right, what we've done here to get, if you've got an alignment issue, if your tires are wearing funny, or if you have to lean to keep your bike going straight, any of those issues, all right? Or if you just want it to be really good. So I've got everything in the back done. We're going to go ahead, set up, and do a front and install and show that too. That's actually pretty easy. And then, like I said, we'll wrap that up. We'll show the bike running, and we will, before we do that, we're going to run it with it loose, and then we'll talk about the alignment a little bit, and we'll show you how we check it here, okay? All right. All right, test number 3 of the second reel of this vintage motion picture Dyna front mount install. And we're back. Glide Pro Dyna front mount install. Here's ours. This is OEM. You guys have seen a few of these. You've had it for a while. They still bolt in the same, just like the rear. The bracket that it bolts to. Okay? I've found it's easier just to get this out of your way. It's a pretty easy install. If you have a oil cooler, makes it a little bit more work. It might be in the way, but it's not a hard one at all, and everything's right there out for you. And you can see, just get that rectifier voltage regulator out of the way, and that opens up all that for you. Still need 2 jacks. You still need one to hold it up level, and then you're going to need one to jack the motor up and down, and alignment for the front mount removal and install. We found too that it's easiest just to take the whole thing out. It's just easier than trying to work these long bolts out past this wire, all this wiring. It's just easier. And most of this you do with wrenches. It's kind of hard to get a socket on some of this. If you got a good flex head ratchet wrench, these two are threaded into the bracket, so they just, you don't even have to have 2 wrenches to get these off. All right, and it's pretty easy to get those out of there. Sure, you got your weight of your motor on the jack, on that front jack. All right, so get those top 2 bolts all the way out. Go ahead and take your front 2 bolts out. This should all be, get some more weight off of that. There we go. Go ahead and pull those 2. That top one, you can flip that up. You can get that whole thing out. All right? That's the easiest way that I know of to get it out. Alright, let's try to get this back in there. I like to put this front bolt, bottom, front. Put that in. Don't tighten it up, just get it up where you still let this is loose, right? Okay, and then I like to get in there, and I'll drop that down in there, and then work that back up in behind there. All right, I like to get it to there. And I'll take one of these top bolts with the thick bushing spacer that goes in it. I'm going to drop this down in, and I don't want to wrench it yet. It's a little bit crooked right there. So what I'm going to do is take a pretty pointy taper drift and try to align this hole a little bit. Alright, like so. Big head in here. Try to get this straight. And I'm going to go ahead and put one of these little front bolts in. Trying to be really careful not to cross thread because the bushing you're going into is aluminum. That feels pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Turn free by fingers, so that ought to work. And then this plate up here now, this is pretty flat, so that should work. That should start in. Forward just a little bit. So I need the taper drift since we have a hole in. There we go. Okay, so we got top. We also don't want to cross threading. I'm going to be careful about that on those. That feels pretty good. That's going down in. Alright, so we're good there. Then the back bolt. Alright. Now the hole's lined up. You can work that through. You might need to get a little taper drift on the other side just to get that lined up. But now the frame's not in the way of that back bolt. And that should go in from there pretty good. Go ahead and get that bolt all the way through. Alright, that's pretty easy. Get this one go on. Let's get this other top bolt lined up and in. See what we got to do to get that. Go over on that other side. Pry that out just a little bit. Just right there. Yeah, there we go. Look at it. Drops right in. Very cool. Yeah, ratchet wrench again. Alright, so we'll get that started. Those are going good. This one's good. No cross threading. We're all happy. Alright, so I got everything tightened up, just snugged up, alright? I'm gonna go ahead and run them all to where they're tight. And then what I'm going to do is just back that off like, not even a whole turn, probably just a half a turn. Alright, maybe a whole turn. Alright, for those two, these two you don't even need to snug them up. These two, alright, you got that. These two right here that hold the mount to this bracket, you don't even need to snug them up. Just leave those loose. And then the two on top. Alright, so I've got them snugged up, and I'm just going to barely back them off, just a little, just to give them a little loose, alright? Yeah, just there you go, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and let the jack off. Yeah, no comment. Pressure off with the jack and go ahead and let it all Come on back down. Let the motor settle in. There we go. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and put the front wheel back on. You didn't need to do that. Take that off to do this. I just did that so you guys could see. So I'm going to go ahead and put the front wheel back on, and I'm going to level it down just on that frame jack, and I'm going to run it for just a bit and throttle it up. I'll show you that. Okay? So again, rear we did, and that's loose. Front snugged up. You saw how I got it in. That's left loose. And we'll run it, let it all settle in. Don't forget that link is disconnected up on top. All right? So be sure you leave that disconnected when you run it. We'll run it and we'll snug it all back up, and then we'll look at the alignment. All right, we're back. This is Annabelle. Say hi, Annabelle. Yes, you're sweet. Yes, don't use the cheetahs. I know, everybody thinks their dog's the cutest in the world. Isn't she just the cutest thing? All right. She keeps an eye on everything here. Back together. Both mounts are loose. Belt tension's still loose. And the link is not connected on top. All right? So we got that. And let's go ahead and get it down. We also I went ahead and leveled it while I was doing everything else. So I got it set up level also. 0, 0 here. Not having one of the mufflers on and nothing being tight, okay? I'll go ahead and get that back up. And let's see how we're doing for level. Perfect. 0, 0. All right. It's digital readout protractor against on the seat rails reading level. All right. And then vertical on the rear wheel. We got 89.8. All right. That's fine. 89, anything back here is fine. You shouldn't go hooking up the link and pulling the motor a bunch. You're going to pull everything out of neutral. You know, actually can end up with worse handling than you had before. So 89, anything actually settled in now. It's 89.8. So it's not going to get any closer. I'm going to go ahead and tighten the mounts back up now. And still leave the link disconnected for now. I'll tighten all the mount bolts back up. And then we're going to figure out, we're going to put some lasers on the lift, laser lines off the rear rotor and the front rotor. I'll give you the idea real quick. Can you see? So we're going to shoot lasers down onto the lift. We'll get them so they go all the way forward. We'll shoot one over there and then we'll measure over to it. Alright? That should all work just fine. I think we're all set here. This looks pretty good. One thing you need to do before you can go any further on the alignment actually is you need to check your fork tubes. How much? Make sure they're both the same. There's no stops, right, on them anywhere. So you could hit a speed bump, curve, who knows, a bad pothole, and knock one up. And if you do that, that's going to make your wheel go this way, all right? So you need to make sure that those are the same. The manual says from between 0.45, 0.5. Just go 0.5. Try to get them both really close to the same. I just use my calipers. And I'll just put a straight edge on top of the cap. And then go between the cap and the top tree. Okay, so we're at right at 5, 4, 9, 8, 5.5, close. And over here do the same. So you need to make sure that's right. You can't align the front and rear wheel with each other if this is off, because it's going to change where you guys got it. It's going to change the angle on that. All right, I think we're there. I know it's been a lot of information. He didn't show it all, so there's some work there involved. But it looks really good. We got the fork tubes the same, sticking out of the top tree, so that's adjusted. That was actually a little bit off, and with the camera off, I had found a little issue with the alignment, so I went ahead and got that correct, and it actually changed where the line was on the right side. But we're doing real well. I want you to, the next thing to do would be adjust your belt tension. Oh, by the way, if you've got some kind of exhaust that's attached to the motor and the frame, you should loosen that up. All right? Just like everything else, it'll help it settle in. So we got the bites level. Perfect. We actually picked up a 10 here, so in the back. So we're actually 89.9 now. And we want to go ahead and adjust the belt tension. We've got that correct on the side. And then you guys know. Alright, I think we took care of the background vocals. We're at belt tension. So they have you make the little tool, I'm sure you guys seen in the manual. It measures from this hole right to the center of the axle. I just use my calipers and just go from the hole. And what I'll do is set up the nut on both sides so the point is straight up, and I just measure off of that to the hole. So that point then sure they're both the same. Of course, you'd want to match the side that you'd pull the tension on. That's set over there, and then adjust this side. Then go ahead and, with the bike level, and again, like I said, we picked up 2/10 on here. I thought that was good. And then we use magnetic base lasers on the brake rotors. Make sure they're flat on the rotor, and we get one on the back. And then we're going to go up front with one of our calipers vertical, all right, vertical on the front rotor, and we're going to move that to where it says 90. And you can you see that back line here? Let's see what I can do here. There you go. You can see that back line. This line right here. That's coming off the front rotor. All right? And then when I move the wheel, see, you can see that line move. All right? And I'm going to set up the front wheel. I like just a little friction on the, with it down, just a little friction. And I'm going to set it at 90 degrees, which should be where it should be at when you're riding straight down the road. All right? And then we've got both lines. You can see both lines. It's not the brightest one, but you can see them both. Over on the here you can see it really easily. Right here. Okay, so you can see both lines. So rear's all set up, and the front is at 90. And then what we're going to do is check those two lines. All right, so we got 9 and 5/8 there. Difference in that gap. I think that'll work just fine. So that all seems good. We're vertical. I'm going to check the link. The link's still disconnected. I'm going to check the link for the bolt fitting. And then if I have to, I'll adjust it. If not, we'll just drop the bolt back in. I'll get the exhaust back on, and then we'll go ahead and run it. I'll get the exhaust back on. I'll get it all back together. I'll get it all back together, and then we can we'll take a look at how it runs on the kickstand. And I'm going to go for a ride. But anyway, so you guys see, we got it up level, right? We had a digital protractor on the rear wheel. Check that. Again, 89, anything's fine. Don't go chasing 90. You're going to pull it all out of neutral. This way it's where it wants to be, even though it's 0.3 of a degree. Actually, we're down to 0.1 of a degree off. Vertical, it's fine. But even if you're 0.5 off, or even 7, it's not going to hurt anything. It will be better there. You will not notice it in the handling. And then we got to the front. We got a laser on the rotor, and that's pulled at 90. Remember to same. Compare your two lines. There you go. So if it's not, so what do we do, Jake? If it's not, if they're not parallel. All right, so we set the belt tension and we set both sides exactly the same. You can cheat this a little bit, all right, as much as say an 8, 3/16. That would give you a lot of change in that line. You can go either way. A little loose, a little more in, a little more out. Tends to like coming out a little bit more. But with that, you can usually get near perfect wheel-to-wheel alignment. All right? Everybody got that? By the way, if you're not running our parts, that's great. I hope this information was useful to everybody. If you do get our parts, I gotta say thanks. It's what makes it work here. If you're telling your friends, if you like them a lot, you're telling your friends, really thanks for that. We don't advertise, so it's just you guys. You don't like it, call me. I'm going to answer the phone. It's okay. I might even get a little defensive. I try really hard not to. I've worked hard to get to here. But usually, if there's an issue, we'll figure it out. All right? Again, thanks. I hope all this helps. Hope you guys have some nice rides.